What's up, Spite?
What's up, Whitney? We're out here with some goofy motorcycles.
Dude, goofy motorcycles is the name of the game! But obviously you can tell that I'm picking to ride this one back to AF1. Not for comfort, selfish comfort reasons by any means. I'm just giving you a nice little ride back on the R9T.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the Moto Guzzi V85 is the most comfortable motorcycle I've sat on in a long time.
I will say that it is nerve-wracking when you can like barely tiptoe this behemoth of a bike and it's like heavy. I was like, okay, this life isn't for me, but...
They both do that like engine slap thing, but the BMW does it a lot more.
The BMW hits you in your fucking tits with it.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely does.
This is just like a nice little putter. It's like, oh, I'm turning on.
It's a little bit more polite about it. It's more Italian than German.
At least it stopped raining on us.
Yeah, no, the sun's trying to come out, but it's December in Austin, so it's going to be miserable and gray for the next forever.
So, on the way out here, you were saying that the Moto Guzzi V85 was going to like be my favorite ADV bike, sport touring bike.
Yeah, because we're out here, we were doing some filming for some of the stuff on my channel. We did a shootout between these two motorcycles, and we got on it. And I was floored by how awesome the V85 felt. I was like, holy cow, this motorcycle's awesome. And I was riding it, and it felt like characterful, and it felt nice and smooth, and it's got the tech and the cruise control and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, Whitney, I think we may have found your adventure bike. Because it's not huge, it's not like overwhelmingly powerful. It's got this really nice character about it. And yeah, I was sitting there thinking, well, this feels like your kind of thing. It's quirky and weird and comfy.
You're like, it's really weird, it doesn't make any sense. It's perfect for you, Whitney. But then I get on it, and it's, what am I gonna say? I was like, it looks really cool, but the way it handles is really nice, but then the charm for me kind of stops there a little bit. Where it's like, I forget all the ADV bikes I've ridden, but I never forget the Pan America. Like, the Pan America made me feel like Superman on the gravel and on the dirt.
Yeah, there's something about the way that the Pan Am rides where it's just, it's this thing that's so unique and wrong because it's built by a company that makes cruisers, and you look and you see the bar and shield and you're like, what is going on here? You know? And it's funny because when you rode the Pan America, we were both out in Sturgis. Yes. And we did that day where we rode out to the Needles. We did the Needles Highway. And we parked out front with the Sportster S and the Pan America. And we were just watching when we were eating lunch, watching all the Harley people, like, look at it like, what the hell is that? It's got the bar, is that a Harley?
Strange vacuum cleaner Auric Terminator bike is that? But to me, it's like one of the coolest looking bikes ever because it's not doing like that angry pointed rooster nose thing that every other ADV bike does. I love how boxy and square it is, and like boxy and square is a huge design trend for a lot of old school cars. So it's cool to see it on a motorcycle, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely got that sort of like muscly angle from the front. But it's so funny that like you keep coming back to the Pan America because I think it just goes to show how like when you know, right? You just feel it in your soul.
You know. And I would be friends with the V85, and I would take the V85 out to lunch, and I would buy it a sandwich, and I would treat it nice. I think it's a fun friend, but I'm not getting that like that dick tickle to be like, oh, this is it, this is the one. And which is different because when I heard you hop on it, you were doing all sorts of giggling.
Yeah, I got on it and I was like, oh wow, this is because I'd never ridden a Moto Guzzi before. It was my first time putting a leg on a Moto Guzzi, and it was this just different thing. It was this aberration that I had never quantified before. And they're so rare. There's so many of those moments that are few and far between now, because I've gotten the opportunity to ride so many bikes, right?
So you were making quantifying sounds. That was you, like...
Yeah, that was brain calculation. You know, I was sitting there trying to be like, what am I riding on? What am I sitting on? And then the whole time I was doing that, I was like, oh shit, I'm just really enjoying myself here.
Yes, there were many giggles coming out of your helmet.
That's how you know that for me anyway, the giggle factor is like my measure of success. If something can make me giggle, then I know I'm doing it, or the bike is doing something right.
Okay, so giggle factor out of 10 for the V85.
Okay, so it's tough because the V85, it's not like usually a lot of people get on a bike and they're like, oh, power, haha, that's fun, right? But what made it for me on the V85 was how just nice it felt, and everything I kept doing, I would just ask it to do something. It was like, okay, sure, let's do it, right? So I was like, oh, it was more like giggles of surprise, and in that sense, it was just like an 8 out of 10 or something like that. It was like an 8 or a 9, because it was just, you know, I was like, all right, let's go through this corner fast, and I was like, sure, I'm game, let's do it.
It feels really supportive. It feels like a really supportive friend.
Yeah, like it wants to go have fun. It's got that, like, you know, well-heeled, you know, like chocolate lab factor, where it's like right always by your knee, and it's like, well, okay, like, you know, we can go for a walk or we can chill, you know, I'm good either way.
Yeah, I don't get that from the R9T. The R9T is all like, wait, what are we doing? Let's go!
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say it's got that, like, you know, super, you know, raucous factor where it's like, you know, we have to just go, like a lot of sport bikes do. But it does have that kind of brawly nature where it's like, this thing has your back if you get into a drunken bar fight.
Yes.
The V85 just wants to, like, be your good pal who will drive you home from surgery, you know?
The V85 went home early to drink more water.
Yeah, there's room in the world for both of that, you know?
Yes.
There's definitely room in the world for having that bud who knows when it's time for them to hit the hay, and there's plenty of times when you just want to go get blackout hammered, you know?
Right, and if you're crushing miles going across the country, or maybe you're going across Italy, Spain, Europe, you're crushing miles, you want the guy who's going to go to bed early. Mm-hmm. And bring you a glass of water and some Alka-Seltzer in the middle of the night. That's who you want.
But I think that gets to, like, one of the weird things about motorcycles generally is they, more so than cars, at least for me, because I don't care about cars at all. Like, you've got that pickup truck, and you used to have the WRX, and now you've got the Bronco and all that stuff. Like, I've got my Mazda 3, and I've had it since like 2013. Yeah. But I haven't done a thing to it, so I don't really care about cars. For me, it's just 4 wheels and a roof for when it's raining. Motorcycles for me are just this, like, pure expression of, like, who you are, kinda, you know?
Yeah.
They paint a more visceral picture of the human who rides them. And I think that they're, at least for another motorcyclist, your motorcycle will tell them more about you than, like, you can in a sentence, you know? Yeah.
And that's, like, who is the V85 for?
I don't know, because it doesn't have that dad energy, you know?
There's no dad energy. It's, like, fun to look at. It's an interesting looking bike. It's playful. So it's like, is it a nerd bike? Does a nerd want to ride this kind of motorcycle?
I would say a connoisseur would ride it. Not well, I mean, a connoisseur is a fancy word for a nerd, but, you know. I was
just about to say that.
But I think that it's like two sides of the same coin. Like, you have to, you know what you're about when you get on the V85TT and you're like, yeah, this is my motorcycle. It's like, you have to have the elevated understanding of bikes, I think.
Yeah, like if somebody pulled up at a coffee shop with a V85, I'd be like, okay, this guy or gal knows what's up. Like, maybe they've ridden a lot of bikes and they're over a lot of what's on the table and what's available on the dealership floor, and they wanted something a little bit different.
Yeah, I think it's I think it falls in that category of, like, you've had a lot of other motorcycles and now you want something that is like a little bit of everything all in one, that can be your only bike if you need it to, right? So maybe it's for the rider who's kind of settling into their more like adult rider years, where they're done kind of trading up every year, you know?
Yeah. Aesthetically, I think the R9T takes the cake, right? It's got like the old Dakar styling. It really catches my eye and it really stands out, where the Moto Guzzi V85 is a little bit more goofy. It's like a little more silly. It's not as serious when it comes to its design. You know, it's got like you're pointing out to me, it's got the Moto Guzzi, was that some sort of giant bird? Some sort of eagle? Hawk eagle?
Yeah, it's got the shape of the, let me see if I can get kind of up front.
It's a charcuterie falcon.
Yeah, if you look at the front there, it's got the bird shape in the middle of the headlights, you know? So it's like some artisan sat there and crafted it out of like clay or wood before they put it together, you know?
Yeah, he sat there just whittling away at it, sanding it, each one to perfection. Which I enjoy, but it's funny, it's like a clash of old and new, right? You've got like regal eagle sort of vibes, but also, I don't know, interesting color choice with the mint and the gray. I do love the V-twin style. I love the way that they look on the bike.
It's got a lot of like that, you know, retro future going on.
Yeah.
In the European sense, it's the European version of retro future.
Which I guess makes sense why it would be like compared to a neo-retro Japanese bike, right? Where it's going to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more futuristic, where Moto Guzzi did that, but it's like playful and dialed back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some giggles to be had on the old R9T here for sure. This thing has just a nice pack of punch for you.
It's a ripper. It's a secret ripper. It's why it's been to the track and to the drag strip. I wouldn't bring this to either.
I would take that to a track.
Would you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what, the last guy who rented my R9T, he was from Germany, obviously. He tracked his GS 1250.
That I would not do.
No.
That's how you know you've just like reached peak mania, motorcycle mania.
Yeah, dude, he loved it. He said it was so funny. He was just laughing the whole time, and I was like, I would be your friend.
But there you go, right? It's just another thing where your motorcycle becomes an extension of your own self, right? Like you take a GS to a track day, you roll up to a track day with a GS, and it's just like, okay, this dude's really odd. I need to talk to him a little bit.
With tire warmers and everything.
Really? He took
Yes.
it? Oh, man. Dude, your tires would be up to temperature so fast on the GS. This does not handle super well, though. I mean, it's fine. It's totally fine. I just don't love it compared to the V85. The V85 feels so much better.
No, yeah, when I hopped back on that after riding this, I was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm like, why do I make everything so much harder for myself? But I'm starting to realize that's like what I like about all the bikes I've had. Like the R9T handles like shit, the XSR handled like crap, the Sparkpeeling handles pretty nice, but yeah, I'm like, man, do I like making everything harder for myself?
Well, you're also not like a twisty road kind of, like, you go out and ride them for sure, but you're not like the kind of person who's trying to, you know, you don't go out with the express reason of going fast on a twisty road. So
No.
it kind of doesn't matter, you know?
No, not to me. It's like, I just want to have fun and relax. I'll blow this light with you.
Okay.
Let's blow it! Yay!
You made it.
Do you like the aesthetics of the V85 more?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You?
I love it. I think it looks so cool.
Dude, I'm really surprised at how much more you like this.
I really like it. I really, really like it. GS boy. Something about the silver and the green. I don't think they make that colorway anymore. I think that's an older model because it's their demo bike. But I really like the like OD green and the soft silver. It just feels good, you know?
Do you like the aesthetics more of this and the Pan America?
Do I like it more than the Pan America? That one's hard. Because the Pan America is just muscle, right? It looks like it's muscle. And the V85 doesn't. It's got that kind of more elegant slant about it. But that guy came to a funny stop. But I don't know. If I didn't want to explain myself, I would just get the V85TT. Like, don't you feel like a lot of times you ride the Pan America and you have to explain yourself to somebody? You have to be like, no, it really is a Harley. It's this new one, you know?
Okay, that's an interesting way. So you just don't want to be bothered.
Well, see, yes and no. If I want to be bothered, I want to have something else to say other than the same old spiel, you know?
Okay.
Like, when I've talked to people about the Pan America, I always have to say the same thing, you know? It's like, no, it's a real Harley. Yeah, it's liquid cooled. No, it's not the same one as your Cruiser. This one you can talk about more, I think, because maybe it's because Moto Guzzi's less of a known thing, you know?
Yeah. People are just inherently not going to ask as many questions. And also, Harley dudes love talking about their bikes and going up to other bikes and...
Yeah, there's a lot of... for being a bunch of guys who are like, you know, your feelings, the Harley guys really like to share.
They do. Well, that reminds me of when I was in Sturgis and suddenly it clicked that Sturgis was all about romance.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my god, I thought this was like just strictly party town and get in fight town. But it's like every dude with their lady riding these beautiful mountain roads.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they have a soft spot.
There really is kind of that, what would you even call it? There's almost a sense of like you're getting a voyeuristic look into people's relationships.
Yes.
When they're riding down in Sturgis, you know?
Yeah, and they're tender, they're having fun, they're also not talking to each other at all.
And they're sitting there with a giant frown on their face the whole time.
God damn it, Spite, it's raining again.
I know, this is terrible. Like, I checked the weather this morning and it was like, yeah, it's gonna rain later today. And I was like, cool, later today is not when we're filming. But
then it was like, no, 1 hour later, exactly when you're filming.
If that isn't the story of my life.
Oh, all right, Spite, thanks for jumping in the wacko hour with me on the way back to AF1 as it rains and we wrap up our day on these two extremely funny, weird bikes.
I am so pleased that you were able to guide me through, you know, a brief glimpse into the Whitney universe.
Oh. All right. Alright guys, as we jump onto the highway, I'm gonna just turn off this GoPro and save you from the wind sounds, the calming wind sounds of my Taz cam as it dangles out of my helmet.
You could just simulate it, just go the whole way back.
Alright, I'll do that the whole way back and just put a blank screen up.